Are we going?
Yeah.
Sweet. One of the first things that stood out to me this week is the 3 characteristics of language. It's systematic, and that kind of piggybacks everything. I mean, you learn the rules of grammar and the rules of language, and
Right.
you just keep repeating them. And I mean, that just kind of jumps off into everything that you learned about, like innate ability. But the second point's what really stood out to me: the fact that languages are symbolic. And I think that the example that they use is that a horse is a horse, but that's only because the whole group agrees that the word horse is that 4-legged animal that eats hay.
Right. And who knows it may not be, you know?
Yeah, well,
Or they don't know that.
I only say that because, like, I've got some ELL students in my class, and I ask them, I just make a game pretty much every day. Anything that I want to know, I'm just like, hey, what's the Spanish word for that? Because, I took it in high school, you took it in high school, but I didn't use it, so I don't know any of it.
No, me neither.
And so I'll just ask my kids, what's the Spanish word for that? And a lot of times they'll tell me, but when I asked them what the Spanish word for a knife was one day, when we were having like a class party or something, they couldn't tell me, like, there were multiple, like, they had to know what kind of knife I need to, like, you've got a butcher knife here or a butter knife. Well, they have different words for that too. Like, they wanted to tell me the name for a machete and, like, a hunting knife and, like, anything that cuts. And I didn't realize that they had that many words for, like,
me neither.
Just something simple.
I've never really thought about it, I don't guess.
Well, I mean, I guess, like, I kind of see, like, we have multiple meaning words in English, like beat. Like, beat of the music, beat somebody up, beat eggs. But
I guess when you think of it that way, it kind of does make sense.
But I never thought of that from a different language standpoint.
That makes sense.
And, I mean, I guess for our students, I mean, that can be kind of hard for them to apply sometimes because we call it one thing and they call it another.
And we may be talking about a totally different thing.
Yeah, the words may be completely different.
Right.
Completely different in the way that I don't know. Just the words could be completely different. They might have like a similar root and they might not.
Right. And I know going on to the next part, how we were talking about, you said what were vocabulary?
Yes.
And I was talking about the phonological just because of grade difference. I just think I guess you got to start. I guess that helps you start learn where they are. What am I trying to say?
You're talking about like analyzing the kid?
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. Like, I know since you being 4th grade, vocabulary would definitely be big.
Oh, yeah.
Right, but we're still learning sounds and all that. And like we said before, they're sometimes totally different.
Well, I mean, the text also pointed out that they have to have both of those things. They have to have that lexical learning and they have to have that grammatical learning.
Right.
Like, they have to know the rules, but they have to have, like, a basic understanding of what a word is before they can
You got to start somewhere.
Anything like inflectional endings.
Right.
Anything.
The blends.
Like how we modify words.
Right.
I did notice this. I saw, like, I kind of put 2 and 2 together because there's a lot of the theory approaches have a internal focus and some of them have an external focus. And I thought because internal and external are opposites that these things would be completely opposite of each other. And they are, but yet I feel like some of these kind of share the same things too.
Yeah.
Like, you've got two theories that start off, like, you've got constructive analysis and error analysis. Okay? And those both analyze, like, where you think, like, constructive analysis was like analyzing where you think a kid's going to mess up.
Right.
And then error analysis moved in and kind of disproved that theory because constructive analysis was like idealized. It wasn't used on real learners. But error analysis was.
So it's real life and real situation.
Yes. But then I also realized where if you move over to the external look at things, that functional typology is also like something that you would use to analyze like second language acquisition.
Right.
Constructive analysis talks about the transferring, like the easiest things transfer for kids first. And functional typology comes back and reinforces that. You've got your marked and unmarked words, functions, structures, and the marked ones are harder for them to transfer over. And I think that you had a good example of that.
Where are you? Let me see. Oh, the blends.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I mean that's even hard for us to teach like our kids who know English and know the letter sounds. Like,
that's a hard one all around, no matter what language.
Yeah, it's more complex to teach that than it would be to just teach something like a consonant vowel, like an easy word like hey. It's spelled Hay, but
it sounds.
You can't hear the Y phonetically. It's just H and then A.
Right.
So I can see where that.
So definitely.
Something else that I noticed is that the function this whole time, the focus shifts back from like syntax and learning the rules and structures to back to vocabulary.
It all just kind of entwines together, I guess you would say.
It bounces back and forth.
Yeah.
But then you kind of think about it and you realize like they've got to have both of them. There's no way around it. For them to be fluent in a language, they have to know both of them.
Right. I mean, I guess that was for us too, you know what I mean? Like when we were kids learning in school, we had to know both of them, so.
I guess the other big thing that stuck out to me was just like the innate ability. Like every kid is born with the ability to learn any language they want to.
Yes.
And that's kind of humbling because then you realize as a teacher that whether the students learn it or not is on you.
Right, no matter what.
It's your responsibility.
Right.
And you got to kind of ask yourself, like, what can I do to help develop those things?
And that's when everything else falls into place on analyzing where that student is and falling into what they need.
The book mentioned in several places letting the kids explore language and being creative, like participants in their own language. And I think that's what we ask ourselves, like, what can we do to let our kids experiment with that language? Whether it be just like some word building chart after they've learned those letter sounds.
Right. You know, like with the new science, our new science is the 5 E's, the engage, explore, and all that. That kind of falls. I mean, you could even take those and fall in with that.
For sure. Like, you let them get out there and play with the ideas that you're trying to teach them, and then you come back and give them an explanation for what they're seeing.
Exactly. And then evaluate it at the end.